Okay, now that you've done all of your planning and your research and you have an outline and you kind of know where your story is headed, it's time to start on that rough draft. It's you put in a lot of the work ahead of time. Now it's time to move forward and actually start to write your story, which is super exciting. So, one thing to keep in mind whenever you're writing a rough draft is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a rough draft for a reason, as its name implies. It's going to be really rough. There's going to be a lot of mistakes developmentally. There'll be grammar errors, spelling errors, typos, you name it, it's all going to be in there, no matter how careful you are. I tend to, whenever I'm writing a rough draft, my mind works faster than my fingers do a lot of times. And so I do kind of fat finger things on occasion. And sometimes I go back and fix them, and sometimes I just keep going. Like, if the scene is flowing for me, I just keep vomiting the words on the page until I get it all out. And I think that this can be a big hang up for new authors if you've not done it before. That rough draft is a daunting task. And sometimes we feel like it has to be perfect, and we go back and we read it and reread it and tweak things and change things. If you continue to do that, it's going to take you a really, really long time to actually finish the product. I think some of the best advice is just to put the pedal to the metal and start it and get it finished, so that you're not drawing it out for a long period of time, getting yourself discouraged because you're going back and looking at things that you've written and said, oh my gosh, this is complete garbage. Well, it's a rough draft. It's supposed to be hot garbage. That's what it's going to be. You can always go back and fix things during the editing phases. You can look at developmental editing and find plot holes and fix those. I'm not saying don't fix them if they're glaringly obvious whenever you're writing them. Maybe make notes and come back to it later. Highlight areas that might be weak and need more, so that you pay closer attention to them whenever you do edit. You can edit your line editing, all your grammar errors. I use ProWriting Aid software. I'll talk more about editing later on in other videos. But the purpose of the rough draft is to finish it. And I think that that is probably the number one thing that people get hung up on. It's either the world building or actually finishing the rough draft. You actually have to finish it to have a book. So it's very important. So no matter what kind of shape it is, whenever you get to point A to point B, you have to get to point B so you can move on to the next phase. If you never get to the end of the book, you can't move on with it. You're kind of stuck in this perpetual editing, re-editing phase. You do have to let some things go. You have to let them slide, just for the sake of moving on and getting it done. It's a daunting task, and you just kind of have to sit down at the keyboard and make yourself just plug away at it. One word at a time. Words make sentences, sentences make paragraphs, paragraphs make chapters, chapters make books. You just kind of have to take it one step at a time to get over that finish line at the end. And once you do, it'll be very, very rewarding.